Today's question is, why do you look bad in good clothes? After years of jumping between bootcut jeans and barrel-like pants, going up and down between the leg length 30 or 32, deciding primary colors suit you better than pastels and what designer speaks the most to you, you still didn't make it. You put so much thought in it, and it still looks quite random. Why is that so? Why does putting so much effort and thinking into something still make you look ridiculously random? And when I say you, I mean all of us, including me. And this happens especially to people that really care about their personal style, that dig deep into creative directors, eras in fashion, different aesthetics. Maybe you created a mood board, even though I ask you to never create a mood board. If you do want to find your personal style, nevertheless, your personal style bar is super high. Okay, let's be honest, your personal style bar is probably a lot higher than people that are just happy with their lives. Yeah, the reason you're not happy is because your personal style bar is so high. Yet, you still feel like you lose against the wool-looking polyester balaclavas, shearling jackets, and Ugg boots people around you. And you just cannot comprehend what you're doing wrong. And what is amazing here is that we have access to people that created theories explaining to why we feel like these items, these grailed items, our favorite investment piece that will elevate our personal style into a nirvana of amazingness, still feels off and doesn't work. There are people that are explaining that. I'm going to dig into that today, and it's super interesting. You will love it. Hello, by the way. This is the channel of tubavalon, and on this channel, we're decoding fashion theories and design. This channel also provides a Discord server where you have a global community of fashion enthusiasts that talk about daily fashion problems of choosing the perfect pants or anything else daily on the server. So if you do want to participate and be part of a group that is nice and kind and loves fashion, you should join my Discord server. The link is down below, and it is connected to my Patreon where I have a bit more random videos, randomness. Maybe we need to find ourselves in randomness. So join the Patreon where I have designer interviews, talks with myself, monologues about why I hate certain things and love certain things. So if you do enjoy this, be part of an amazing and unique and probably the best fashion community on the World Wide Web, and we do even meet in real life. So join the Discord, the link is down below. Let's get into it. So we're starting with the first theory that will explain to us that we're not actually doing something wrong, but we've been told to do things wrong. That sounds super mysterious. Let's go. And one person that explains perfectly why the well thought through look that you created, you found those items, the perfect denim, the perfect t-shirt that everybody claims to be is a very extraordinary task, which is kind of not true. But anyway, the perfect sneakers, the perfect jacket, cap, whatever, everything that is very you and is so distinct and different, why it still looks flat, is perfectly explained by the philosopher Byung Chul Han. Byung Chul Han is a South Korean-born philosopher and cultural theorist who now teaches in Berlin, and he's known for dissecting how modern life, shaped by technology, the social media that is constantly around us, and neoliberalism, changes the way we experience time, beauty, and even ourselves. He wrote the famous books The Burnout Society and The Transparency Society, and he explains here how our culture went from a culture of discipline to a culture of performance. So instead now of being told what we do by external authority, how it used to be in the past, we now pressure ourselves to be constantly productive, visible, and optimized. Productivity is kind of the new keyword of our generation in work, in relationships, and especially in our looks. He says we're living in an achievement society where we ourselves are both master and servant of our image. And honestly, that's exactly what it feels like currently, I feel like we are completely in control of how we want to be depicted, how we want to be shown, how we want to express ourselves, what we are putting online. But honestly, at the same time, we're also the slaves of acting exactly this way, of feeling like we're the masters, but actually we're just feeding something else with it. And the problem with the society of transparency, which on paper sounds amazing, like a society of transparency, everything is transparent, usually a positively connotated word, it's not amazing if it comes to self-expression because there's no space anymore for mystery, for intimacy or depth, all these things that were not very clear back then and not known. And just the fact that there's nothing unknown anymore is already one of the reasons why a lot of things just don't look authentic or real anymore and just feel flat. The fact that it feels off is just because it looks like you followed this perfect script. I mean, I don't know, the workwear look, the Japanese minimalistic aesthetic, all these aesthetics, everything that kind of has a name on it, It doesn't mean you cannot follow something you've already seen, but you need to turn it into something that fits to your personality, because otherwise it just looks random and flat. And I want to bring you also some examples from the runways, because I think it's really interesting if we looked at the last spring, summer 26, also fall, winter 25 was also strongly going into this direction. And there are many explanations of why certain shows look a certain way, but one of them is definitely that playing it safe is the best way to go currently. Why is everything so homogeneous? The brands where we saw the strongest that they went for safer design choices are, for example, Bottega Veneta, Balenciaga, Acne, Maison Margiela, and these are all brands that were once very much known to be aesthetically disruptive and have now turned into completely blended in and beautifully pleasing brands. And I know beautifully aesthetic brands are okay. You know, it's okay to look at a Bottega runway and see a coat and pants and shoes that work well together, and you look put together and you look like a decent human being, and you're like, okay, why is that a problem? Does everything need to be absurd now? No. But trust me, whenever you have the chance to enter a store, whatever store, it doesn't have to be luxury, and you pick a whole new look, okay? You're allowed to choose a complete new look. You buy everything head to toe new. The coat, the sweater, the pants, the shoes, maybe the hat and the handbag, and you feel like the luckiest person alive for exactly one day. And the second day, you will just realize that this is not really intentionally you. This is not something you would have ever chosen if you would have to pay for it or whatever reason. Like, this is not really representing you. Probably the washed off denim that you like would have worked better. Probably the worn out sneakers would have worked better to really implement your own personality into this look. I think it's good to have a look into brands that kind of challenge the aesthetic that you have in your mind, also with a bit more disruptive pieces. I don't say go full Ashley Williams. I think August Baron is interesting. I think Marc Jacobs is a brand you can get constantly inspired by. But honestly, you can also create disruptive things with the J. Crew look. It's really endless, but it's really important to try to experiment with colors, with silhouette, because that's kind of the only way how we can fight this idea of ultra transparency constantly, where everything is like pre-picked and pre-selected and it looks good on a dummy, because you have the power to add a tiny bit of mystery to your look, the tiny bit of ill-fittingness, a tiny bit of what is this? And it is you. It's kind of you, whatever the piece is that you picked. Maybe it's the color you chose. Maybe it's the silhouette. Maybe it's a vest over the sweater that looks off. It's just, I don't want to constantly repeat myself in my videos, but I do strongly believe, and I have philosophers that are backing me right now, you need to add something personal to your look to make it good. It just doesn't work if it's on someone's wish list, and especially if it's a Black Friday wish list currently, where you have the perfect funnel neck jacket, for example. What is currently going on with the neck? I mean, everybody loves their neck. We all love our necks, but what is happening right now to funnel neck jackets? We see it through high street. I mean, it started on the runways. All the luxury brands create them right now. The fact that you see a very distinct silhouette so strongly everywhere, and it's kind of sad to see everybody wearing it also. Again, this is not an anti-hype, anti-trend video. I think there are a lot of people that can translate trends into their personal style as well. But do you really think in 2 years you will really love this low drop waist silhouette with a funnel neck? Is that even your thing? And don't you actually like a tighter neck? Don't you actually like a classical collar more? Doesn't that actually represent your style more? What I want to say is, it's so easy to get influenced by people that make a look work because it works on them so perfectly, and they kind of give us a script of how to translate that into, translation means here shopping from the right stores, but it doesn't work when we buy it. That's why we need to add our own sauce to it. Another aesthetic where we see that very strongly in is, and I don't want to say it anymore, but it still kind of exists, and it has, quiet luxury has kind of translated now into, I think, a more high quality minimalistic approach aesthetic, is all the translations of the Carolyn Bassett Kennedy aesthetic. And this is also an interesting case because it's not really looking at an aesthetic for aesthetic purposes. It looks at the person and what the person stands for. And that's even worse, actually, when you're trying to recreate something because a person used to have values. Because Carolyn Bassett Kennedy is that person that had the most interesting and contemporary brands in the 90s. She was wearing DKNY and all these things, and is known to have removed the tags of the brands whenever she had something on it, if it's handbags or clothes or whatever. Nobody does that anymore, and everybody would love to be that person that removes the tags from the clothes that they're wearing. But none of us, most of us, are not that person. We're not going to remove that. And by buying into the aesthetic, by buying, for example, products by the row or whatever it is, we're thinking we can buy the moral thinking of that person, the mindset and the values of that person. But we cannot. It needs to be your own mindset to work. That's why that's my biggest criticism with brands like The Row, because I think that's the whole idea of a lot of people purchasing the brand. I think if it's your ideology to believe in this kind of minimalism, go for it. There's absolutely no criticism for that. But thinking you can buy into values or an ethical view or a moral view, especially when you're inspired by one person in particular, it doesn't work. It will not work on yourself if you don't carry it. And of course, all of these things have a lot to do with status symbols. I'm not going to speak about these symbols right now, but symbolism is extremely important when creating an outfit. And sometimes you also create your outfit according to the symbolic language that it carries. And this is what brings us to our second mind. The sociologist Richard Senett says that we blurred in modern life, especially in the cities, everything between private and public. And that kind of also destroyed our way of communicating ourselves. Richard Senett is an American sociologist who has spent decades studying how modern cities and modern work kind of shape the human behavior. And he's especially interested in how people present themselves in public, how we act, interact, and perform when we know we're being seen. And I know you love this topic because I have a whole video talking about this for 20 minutes about the idea of authenticity and performance. So you can also watch my last video right after this one. I'm very philosophical lately, and let me be myself. He wrote the famous book, The Fall of Public Man, which I would really recommend reading if you are into the idea of authenticity and what it means in today's society. And he differentiates between the idea of private identity and public identity and how it kind of merged in our modern society. And that's kind of the biggest problem. Because in earlier times, back in the days, the public life was understood as a stage and everybody was aware that this is the case. People played roles, we knew that. Everyone's wearing costumes, behaved formally, you wear a suit, you know where you're going, you act accordingly, but everybody knows that it's an act. And today, what we force people to do and to be is to be constantly authentic. You constantly need to be yourself. You constantly, even in public, it's not about manners, it's not about how you have to behave, because if you do that, this is fake behavior, and you constantly need to be your authentic self in public, which leads to not having a differentiation between who you are in private and in public. Okay, it's really hard to make a difference nowadays, because once you don't do it, you're being considered unauthentic. And that's complicated, especially when it comes to how you dress. And in my opinion, one of the biggest formats of digital content creation explains this perfectly, how we feel like this is something incredibly intimate and personal. And meanwhile, it's like the best sales strategy to sell your products or to sell you an image or whatever, which is the get ready with me. Nothing feels more intimate than being in someone's bedroom or closet or living room or whatever. And Senett says the fact that we compose things to look perfect on camera or in the public shows that spectacle has become a means of social control and the way we manage the individual's relationship to the public. So the problem are not really the pieces themselves, but the fact that they stand for like spectacle, okay? I used to talk a lot about the extreme baggy pants that were a thing with crop tops, especially for men's, which was something unusual and new to see. And I think right now we're in this very sculptural phase. I don't know why everything needs to look so incredibly sculptural. It's interesting because we had this like 10 years, 15 years ago, I think, in fashion. And everything, like if you look at brands like Alaya or, I don't know, Kate and even Phoebe Philo, it goes very much into the sense of being dramatic. And I know this is also a current aesthetic field, like just to go into this direction. It's also beautiful to wear something sculptural around yourself. But I also think these items look stronger on camera. I truly believe that a lot of brands are digging into creating more these sculpturesque things, like also brands like Schiaparelli, which is maybe not the best example because it's more a couture house, but everything that can go viral, it's hard to create ready to wear that is extremely striking and people resonate with it. But if it's very sculptural and easy to remember, and that's the case with very sculptural and heavy aesthetics, I think that's more easy. And that's why certain brands are just a lot more popular right now, because they create distinct design features that are recognizable. So this means Once you decide to go for a look that you find extremely pleasant to look at, which is maybe a full black wardrobe with a bit of design. So you do invest in these designer pieces in full black. You wear this head to toe and you feel kind of boxed in. You feel like it doesn't represent yourself because actually it doesn't really reflect your personality or what you want to have. This minimalistic black look, even if it sounds like the most simple thing ever, it's not something everybody can carry or should carry. Whatever it is that you find appealing right now and you tried it on and it just feels wrong, it doesn't always mean you just don't dare to get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes it just means it's not the right item. And that's just why some good clothes on paper, literally paper in magazines and editorials, where you think like, oh, I will be the edgiest freak in town when I wear this. This will be so cool. And you feel like you're going to a Halloween party because you just feel so wrong in your body. This is when we realize that good clothes don't work sometimes and just look bad on us. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Just means we need to experiment more. So this is it for today. This was a very theoretical video, but I wanted to just explain some theories that are supporting the idea of why we feel like a lot of things just feel off on us. Meanwhile, it looks like the whole wide world is wearing these things. Like, how come it doesn't work? And it's really not because of us. It's not because of our body type. It's not of the way we look or anything. It's really just that we are being told to wear items a certain way. And that's not correct. And we should not believe in that. I hope you like this video. My next video will be a bit more direct with fashion reviews again. I'm really hungry for that. Thanks for waiting for so long because I've been gone for a while. Don't forget to join the Discord server if you're interested in people like me and you and all over the place, all over the world, talking about fashion every day, literally every day. The cutest spot and probably the kindest fashion spot in the fashion world, I would like to say. So I'm happy you listened to me for so long. See you to the next one.